Welcome to Shatter.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. It was 1:12 a.m. when I heard the door click open. She walked in like it was nothing. High heels in one hand, phone in the other. The glow from the screen lit up her smirk, and I could hear the faint buzz of her group chat pinging with notifications as she set her purse down. No apology, no explanation. Just that look, the one that used to get her out of everything. She didn't even glance at me at first, just tossed her keys into the bowl by the door and headed straight for the fridge, muttering something about being starving. That's when she smirked over her shoulder and said it, half joking, half testing me. Be grateful I even came home. That's the moment something inside me went silent. Not broken, not hurt, just done. I looked at her calmly, took a sip of the lukewarm coffee I'd made hours ago, and said, "Thanks, but why? You don't live here anymore." Her smirk vanished before the fridge door even closed. She turned, expecting me to laugh, or yell, or beg for some kind of justification. I didn't move, because the truth is, I'd already had that conversation with myself 100 times. Every night, she came home later. Every time I found receipts that didn't make sense. Every glance at her phone screen when she thought I wasn't looking. I wasn't surprised. I was prepared. She opened her mouth to say something, but the silence between us swallowed it. And I watched it land. That realization that she'd pushed too far. Too many late nights. Too many fake excuses. Too many times she made me feel like a background character in my own home. And now? Now I wasn't playing along. There was no fight. No demand for the truth. Just one line. Delivered like a finished contract sliding across a desk. She stood there for a while. Waiting. Maybe hoping I'd crack. But I'd already stepped out of the story she was still trying to control. I walked past her, grabbed my jacket from the hook, and left the house for a midnight drive. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say goodbye. Because when someone treats your presence like an option, your silence becomes a decision. And that was the hook. That night didn't end in a fight. It began something else entirely. A process. A strategy. And it started with a sentence that flipped the balance of power forever. You don't live here anymore. The next morning, she was up early, acting like nothing had happened. She made coffee, asked if I wanted eggs, played soft music from Spotify like we hadn't stood in the same kitchen hours ago, and split reality down the middle. I didn't respond, just showered, dressed, and left the house without a word. Because I'd already stepped into the next phase, observation, not reaction. No more asking where she was. No more checking her stories, her texts, her tone. I didn't need her version anymore. I was gathering my own. That afternoon, I met up with my friend Jordan. We'd planned it weeks ago, just two guys grabbing food and watching Sunday football. We were halfway through wings at Buffalo Wild Wings when he said something offhand. Casual. Harmless, on the surface. So did Emily like that new sushi place? Saw Rachel posted a pic of them all their Thursday night. I paused. Put my drink down. Thursday night. He nodded. Yeah, girls' night, right? Looked fancy. I didn't flinch. I didn't say a word. Just filed it away. Because Thursday night, she told me she was stuck late at work. Budget meeting. Something about inventory. That was the first clean cut. No emotion. No drama. Just truth, slipping out of someone else's mouth, without knowing what it hit. Back home, she was on the couch, scrolling through Amazon on her iPhone, pretending to be relaxed. I watched her for a second before heading upstairs. I didn't confront her. Didn't ask about the sushi. Didn't need to. Because once the lies start to crack, they don't need pushing. They collapse under their own weight. I started noticing the small things after that. Her perfume changed, sharper, expensive. She started locking her phone, something she never did in 5 years of marriage. She bought new lingerie from Victoria's Secret and left the tags on. Not once did she wear them for me. But I said nothing. I let her believe I was still inside the story she was scripting. Let her think the late nights still fooled me. Because when you stop reacting, you start seeing everything. And I saw it all. The distance. The performance. The quiet arrogance in her smile, like she'd already won. But I wasn't angry. I was calculating. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about ending the illusion, in a way she'd never forget. And it had already started. With a friend's throwaway sentence. And a man who no longer played along. It's strange how easy it is to find the truth when you stop asking for it. Most people hide things from those who push. But when you go silent, when you stop confronting, they get sloppy. She never turned off iCloud Sync on the shared tablet in the guest room. We used it for recipes, Spotify, streaming Hulu while folding laundry. And I hadn't touched it in weeks. But that morning, something told me to check it. It wasn't snooping. It was strategy. I opened the Photos app, scrolled past old memories, vacations, birthdays, images that used to mean something. Then I saw it. A picture taken just 2 nights ago. She was at a rooftop bar, holding a cocktail with a lime wedge and a smirk that didn't look like mine anymore. There was a hand resting on her thigh, masculine, tan, expensive watch on the wrist. It wasn't posed. It wasn't meant for me. But the cloud had captured it anyway. I looked at the metadata. Thursday night. The same night she claimed she was working late, cleaning up numbers at the office. There were more. A reflection in the glass behind her. Him. Half visible. Close. The kind of closeness you don't fake. I didn't screenshot. Didn't download. Just stared for a minute. Not at her, but at myself. At the version of me who would have begged for answers. Fought for her honesty. Yelled until my throat bled for something resembling truth. That version was gone. I closed the app, placed the tablet face down, and I smiled. Because now it wasn't just suspicion. Now I had the facts. Quiet. Clean. Undeniable. That night, she came home early. Hair curled. Dressed down in a hoodie and leggings like she just came from the gym. She kissed me on the cheek. Said she was tired. I nodded. She had no idea I knew. No clue her mask had already slipped. She curled up on the couch with her AirPods in, laughing at a TikTok video, sipping on Starbucks like she didn't just spend Thursday night with someone else's hand on her. I watched her for a long time. Not out of love. Not even out of pain. But out of finality. The emotional switch had flipped. I wasn't holding on anymore. I was planning. Quietly. Efficiently. Without warning. She didn't even notice I was already moving 5 steps ahead. Because when a man goes quiet, it's already too late to ask what he's thinking. The first time she noticed something was off, it was a Tuesday. She texted me at noon, grabbing lunch, "You want something?" Like she had any idea where I was. I didn't reply. By 1:30, she sent a follow-up. "Everything okay?" Still nothing. Because silence wasn't a tactic. It was the new language. I wasn't ghosting her. I was removing myself. From her convenience. From her schedule. From the orbit she thought I'd never leave. I had lunch at a place we used to go to, the kind she stopped caring about once the photos stopped getting likes. Waffle House. Simple. Quiet. No forced smiles. No pretending. While she was wondering where I was sitting by the window, watching people move in and out of lives that still had honesty in them. That night, she came home earlier than usual. No makeup. Hoodie. Sneakers. She walked in, half worried, half annoyed. Asked why I didn't answer. I said I was busy. She paused. Confused. Because for the first time, there was no guilt in my tone. No apology. Just a plain, indifferent statement. She asked what I was doing. I didn't answer. Because explanations are for people who want to be understood. I was past that. Over the next few days, I kept stepping back. I stopped asking about her day. Stopped staying up for her. Stopped being predictable. She started noticing. Little things at first. Missing phone calls. Empty coffee mugs left in the sink. Me already asleep before she got home. Then the bigger things. I canceled our Netflix. Logged her out of the joint Hulu account. She tried to play it off like she didn't care. But I saw the twitch in her jaw when her show didn't load. It was subtle. Calculated. The kind of disruption you don't scream about, but can't ignore. She was losing access. Not just to apps. To me. And the more I pulled away, the more she tried to pretend nothing had changed. But it had. I wasn't cold. I was done. She just hadn't realized it yet. And that's the most dangerous kind of silence. The one that doesn't ask, doesn't explain, doesn't return. Just vanishes from the center of everything. And the moment she started wondering where I went, that's when she realized I'd already left. It started with the bank. Not the kind of move you announce. Just a quiet login, a few clicks, a reset of access. The joint account we once used for groceries, bills, vacations, it became mine again. The credit card she kept maxing out for self-care weekends was now disconnected. No alert. No warning. Just clean disconnection. She was in Target that afternoon. I knew, because the transaction failed. A $74. 19 decline, candles, wine, skincare. She tried again. Then again. And then she texted me. Did something happen to the card? I didn't answer. I watched the bubbles pop up. Then vanish. Then, this your way of punishing me. Still nothing. Because this wasn't punishment. It was protection. You don't keep feeding someone who bites your hand. You pull it back and let them figure out how to survive without it. That night, she came home with grocery bags from Walmart, paid in cash, I assumed. Her mood was colder. She moved around the kitchen like it owed her something. But she didn't ask me anything. Not yet. Because she still thought this was temporary. A warning shot. A bluff. What she didn't realize was that I'd already changed the will. Removed her as emergency contact. Called the insurance provider. Rerouted my paycheck. And all of it happened in silence. While she scrolled Amazon and posted photos like everything was fine. The difference was, this time, I wasn't one of the likes. I stopped reacting. Stopped saving her from consequences. She wanted freedom. She was getting it. Complete, untethered freedom. But freedom without access is just isolation. And that's where she was now. Drifting outside the walls she once controlled. I didn't block her. Didn't yell. Didn't demand keys or paperwork. I let the systems do it for me. She started noticing how deep the shift ran. The Netflix profile gone. The bills in her name showing up. The gym membership she forgot I paid for, canceled. Piece by piece, I erased the illusion. Not out of revenge. Out of clarity. She was no longer my responsibility. And the life she thought she could manipulate? It was closing its doors, one account at a time. She looked at me that evening, waiting for me to speak. But I didn't. Because when someone finally feels the weight of their choices, the worst thing you can do is interrupt the silence with comfort. You let them sit in it. And that silence? It's louder than any argument ever could be. There was a dinner party she insisted we attend. Hosted by her best friend, Rachel, the kind of event where everyone dresses just enough to be noticed, but not enough to be honest. I didn't want to go, but I showed up anyway. Not for her. For the observation. These were her people. The ones who never questioned her stories. Who liked every filtered photo. Who thought we were such a power couple. We arrived late. She was glued to her phone the entire ride, fixing her lipstick in the mirror between texts. Inside, the air was thick with wine and small talk. She floated from room to room like nothing had changed. Laughed too loud. Touched my shoulder just enough to seem connected. I stayed quiet. Polite. Sipped a drink and watched. Then it happened. We were all sitting in the backyard. Patio lights overhead. Fire pit lit. Wine flowing. Rachel leaned into her and said it. Not loudly, not cruelly. Just offhand. Just honest. You know, I don't think he's chasing you anymore. Feels like he's already gone. The fire cracked. The conversation around us didn't stop, but the mood shifted. Everyone heard it. No one said a word. Her eyes flicked to me, waiting for me to deny it. To laugh it off. I didn't. I just kept my gaze on the flames. Because Rachel was right. And now, it wasn't just me who saw it. It was the room. The dynamic had shifted. I wasn't orbiting her anymore. She was spinning, untethered, and people were starting to notice. After that, her tone changed. She stopped performing. Got quiet. Tight-lipped. The smirk she wore like armor started to crack. We left early. The ride home was silent. She didn't touch her phone once. At a red light, she finally said, "You're not even trying anymore." I didn't respond. Because she finally understood. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't a cold shoulder. This was exit velocity. And once a man breaks free from her gravity, he never comes back the same. That night, she didn't sleep in our bed. Said the guest room was more comfortable. I didn't ask why. Because comfort was never the issue. Control was. And for the first time, she didn't have any. Not over me. Not over the narrative. Not even over how people saw her. They saw what I saw now. Not the woman I married. But the performance unraveling. And I didn't have to say a word. Because someone else already had. The house was colder than usual. Not in temperature, but in tone. Rooms felt wider. Furniture more distant. Even our dog started sleeping in the hallway, like it couldn't figure out whose side to be on. Days passed without words that used to fill the air out of habit. No good mornings. No, what do you want for dinner? No tension, just absence. She started lingering longer in the kitchen, making noise when she didn't need to, playing old playlists we used to share, songs with lyrics she used to laugh at. Now, they played like echoes from a different life. One night, I was lying on the couch after a long shift. I hadn't said a word since walking in. Took off my boots. Made a sandwich. Watched half an episode of something I can't remember. She came in quietly. Sat next to me. Too close for the space we'd created. I didn't move. Didn't lean in. She rested her head against my shoulder. Light. Hesitant. A gesture that once meant something. Now, it felt like a stranger testing the temperature of water that was already drained. Her hand grazed mine, and I didn't pull away. I didn't flinch. I simply didn't return it. That's what hit her. Not rejection, not anger, just the absence of reaction. Because when you've emptied someone out long enough, there's nothing left to pour back. She stayed there for maybe 10 minutes. Silent. Still. Then got up and walked out. No scene. No questions. But the air shifted. She knew now. Not because I told her, but because her touch didn't reach me. It didn't sink in. Didn't land. She wasn't reaching for me. She was reaching for a version of me that no longer existed. And that was the moment she finally started to panic. The calls to friends increased. I overheard her asking about therapists, Googling articles late at night, how to fix a distant husband, signs he's already emotionally gone. Too late. Because you don't Google what to fix after you've already broken it. You just sit in it. And I let her. I moved quieter, smiled less, spoke only when necessary. I wasn't punishing. I was fading. And fading isn't loud. It's a process of subtraction. And by the time she noticed what was missing, she couldn't remember what it felt like to have it. She asked me to sit down. No yelling. No panic in her voice. Just that nervous, brittle calm women use when they feel the ground shifting but want to pretend they still control the furniture. I sat. Not because I owed her a conversation, but because I wanted her to see what silence really looked like. She started with the usual. That things had been hard lately. That we both made mistakes. That maybe we just needed a weekend away. Just us, she said. She talked like it was salvageable. Like this was a flat tire, not a totaled car. I didn't interrupt. I didn't agree. I didn't even nod. I just listened. And that unsettled her more than any argument could. She kept looking for something in my eyes. Recognition. A flicker of warmth. An opening. But I wasn't there to negotiate. I was there to confirm what she already knew but hadn't yet said aloud. When she paused, expecting a response, I gave her one. Soft. Steady. Final. I'm not angry. I'm just done. That was it. No list of grievances. No recounting her late nights, her distance, her shift in tone and touch. Because explaining your absence to someone who chose not to notice it in real time is a waste of breath. She blinked, like I'd hit her without raising a hand. Asked if I still loved her. And I told her the truth. I don't even remember how that used to feel. That's what finally broke the illusion. She thought the danger was in me leaving. The real danger was me staying, but no longer being reachable. That night, she didn't sleep. Paced the hallway. Reopened old photo albums. Scrolled through text threads from months ago, trying to find the moment she lost me. But there wasn't one. It was a slow erosion. A quiet drift. And now she was sitting in a house with a man who still lived there, but no longer belonged to her. I didn't pack bags. Didn't move out. Because she expected that. Instead, I let her sit in the space she'd carved out. Cold, echoing, silent. And it was that silence that screamed louder than any slammed door. Not because I was gone, but because I wasn't coming back. Her fall wasn't loud. It was quiet. Digital. Social. The kind of unraveling that doesn't start with a scream. It starts with silence from the people who used to hype you up. I saw it on her Instagram. The once daily posts slowed to every few days. Then once a week. Captions got longer, trying to sound wise, reflective, deep. Sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself. But the likes? They didn't come back. Neither did the comments. Because people can smell when a woman's control slips. Especially the ones who once envied her. They don't reach out. They just step back. At work, I heard from a friend in her office that she'd started snapping at people. Showed up late to a meeting and tried to blame traffic. The same traffic she used to breeze through when her head was clear. She wasn't sleeping. I could tell. Eyes darker. Movement slower. Even the way she stirred her coffee felt heavier. I was still in the house. Still calm. Still present. But I wasn't hers anymore. I started getting up earlier. Hitting the gym before sunrise. Wearing shirts I hadn't touched in months. Cooking for myself. Making weekend plans without announcing them. She noticed. One Sunday, I came home late from a Waffle House breakfast with an old friend, someone she used to call boring. She was sitting at the kitchen table, dressed up for no reason, like she was waiting for an apology I never offered. But there was nothing to apologize for. I wasn't breaking the rules. I'd simply stopped playing her game. She started texting mutual friends, dropping vague lines like, "He's just not who he used to be." But none of them bit. Because they could tell. I wasn't spiraling. I was stabilizing. And she was crumbling. Without shouting. Without headlines. Just fading. Like the stories she used to post with me in the background, now missing. Like the inside jokes we used to share, now unspoken. Like the power she once held, now irrelevant. She asked one night if we could try again. From scratch, she said. I looked at her, calm, clear. Told her I didn't even remember what scratch felt like. Because she'd buried it too long ago. That's what broke her. Not betrayal. Not revenge. Just the realization that I was no longer a man she could reach, even in the same room. And for the first time in her life, she had no one left to perform for. I left on a Thursday morning. Not in a rush. Not in secret. Just quiet. The way someone leaves a house they once built, brick by brick, now standing in silence. I packed light. Took only what was mine. Left the photos on the shelf, the wedding ring on the bathroom counter, and the memories where they belonged, in the past. She was awake. Sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing one of those oversized sweatshirts she used to steal from my side of the closet. She didn't ask where I was going. She already knew. There were no tears. No begging. No deals. Because when someone has drained every ounce of who you were, they know better than to ask for more. I walked past her, down the hallway we once argued in, once kissed in, once pretended everything was fine in. Stopped only once, at the door. Took one last look at the place where my silence had lived for months. Not as a punishment, but as proof that peace is louder than rage. She stood up then, walked toward me, but not close. Just enough to be seen. Enough to make it harder. But I didn't flinch, because my mind was already gone long before my feet moved. I opened the door. The sun hit my face. Clean. Warm. She whispered, "So that's it." I looked at her. The same woman who once smirked and said I should be grateful she even came home. And I said, quietly, like truth doesn't need volume, "You don't live here anymore." Then I stepped out, closed the door. And with that, I wasn't her husband, her shadow, her anchor, or her excuse. I was just free. No dramatic music. No storm. No twist. Just a man who stayed long enough to realize that staying wasn't strength, leaving was. And as I drove away in my Ford F-150, past the familiar streets, past the coffee shop where she used to fake smiles, past the places where we used to be real, I didn't feel sad. I felt clear. She would tell stories. Say I changed. That I drifted. That I gave up. But the truth? I stopped showing up where I wasn't respected. And once a man learns peace, he never trades it for noise again. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.